Kate Morrison stood at the window of her small apartment, watching the busy street below. People walked by without looking up. Cars moved in steady lines. Everything seemed normal, but nothing felt right to her anymore. 3 months had passed since she returned to Earth. 3 months since the war ended. 3 months since she last felt like she mattered. The news channels still talked about the great victory over the Cathara Empire. They showed pictures of Admiral Frank Coleman shaking hands with world leaders. They played videos of his big ships destroying the alien fleet. But they never mentioned Kate or her crew on the UE's Defiant. Kate touched the metal on her dresser. The silver star felt cold under her fingers. She had earned it at the Battle of Proxima Station, but the ceremony had been small and quiet. Only a few officers came, no reporters. No cameras. Her phone buzzed. A text from her brother Danny. Party tonight at 7. Come celebrate your homecoming properly this time. Kate sighed. Danny meant well, but his friends did not understand what she had been through. They were all successful people with clean jobs and safe lives. They smiled politely when she entered a room and found reasons to talk to someone else. She put on her best civilian clothes and drove to Danny's house in the hills. The party was already busy when she arrived. People in expensive suits stood around with drinks, talking about business deals and vacation plans. Kate, Danny rushed over and hugged her. Everyone, this is my sister Kate. She just got back from the war. The conversation stopped. People looked at her with uncomfortable smiles. A woman in a red dress nodded politely. Thank you for your service, the woman said in a flat voice. What was it like out there? Asked a man with gray hair. Kate thought about how to answer. How could she explain the Battle of Proxima Station? How could she tell them about commanding a damaged ship with only 3 small escort vessels against 12 Cathara dreadnoughts? How could she describe watching enemy ships the size of cities trying to destroy 2 million colonists? It was difficult, she said finally. The man nodded as if he understood, but his eyes were already looking past her to someone else. The conversation moved on to safer topics. Stock prices, sports teams, movie reviews. Kate found herself standing alone by the food table. She watched the party continue around her as if she was not there. People walked past without making eye contact. When she tried to join conversations, they seemed to fade away naturally. You look like someone stole your cake, said a voice beside her. Kate turned to see a woman about her age with short brown hair and kind eyes. She wore simple clothes and carried a medical bag. I'm Lisa Park, the woman said. Danny's neighbor. Also a doctor with the Veterans Affairs Office. Kate Morrison. I know who you are, Lisa said quietly. I read your file. Kate felt surprised. Someone had actually read about what she did in the war. You saved 2 colony worlds with a broken ship and a handful of escorts, Lisa continued. A tactical analysis is brilliant. You used the gas giant's gravity well to sling your ships around the enemy fleet, hitting them from 6 different angles while they were still trying to figure out where you went. For the first time in months, Kate felt seen. Someone understood what she had accomplished. But they give all the credit to Admiral Coleman, Kate said. That happens more than you might think, Lisa replied. I've been studying something I call victory syndrome. When someone does something so incredible that normal people cannot process it, they become invisible. Not literally, but socially. People cannot handle heroes who are too heroic. Kate looked around the party. Everyone seemed to be having a good time, but none of them looked in her direction. I feel like a ghost, Kate admitted. You're not the first veteran to tell me that, Lisa said. I have a friend who might be interested in your story. He's a journalist named Marcus Webb. He investigates stories that other people miss. What kind of stories? The ones about heroes that everyone forgets. Lisa pulled out her phone and showed Kate a picture of a middle-aged man with tired eyes and a notebook in his hand. Marcus has been looking into cases like yours. Military. Personnel who did impossible things during the war, but somehow got erased from the official history. Kate felt a spark of interest for the first time since coming home. There are others? More than you would believe. A Marine captain who held off an entire ground invasion with 40 soldiers. An engineer who figured out how to break through. Alien shields. A pilot who shot down 30 enemy fighters in one battle. All of them came home to find that nobody remembered what they did. The party continued around them, but Kate felt like she was in a bubble with Lisa. For the first time in months, someone was really listening to her. Why would they hide our achievements? Kate asked. That's what Marcus is trying to figure out. Lisa said, he thinks there's a pattern. Something bigger than just bureaucratic mistakes. Kate thought about her debriefing sessions after the war. The endless forms and classified stamps. The way her crew had been split up and sent to different assignments before they could talk to each other. I want to meet him, Kate said. Lisa smiled. I thought you might. But Kate, if you decide to dig into this, be careful. Marcus's last investigation got him in trouble with some very powerful people. What kind of trouble? The kind where your apartment gets searched and your files disappear. Kate looked around the party one more time. Danny was telling a story about his latest business deal. His friends laughed and patted him on the back. None of them looked her way. She made her decision. Set up the meeting, she told Lisa as they exchanged contact information. Kate noticed something strange. A man in a dark suit stood near the back door, watching her. When their eyes met, he quickly looked away and walked outside. Did you see that man? Kate asked Lisa. What man? Kate looked back, but the man was gone. She told herself it was nothing, but her military training made her notice details. The man had been watching her specifically, not just scanning the crowd. Never mind, she said to Lisa. But as she drove home that night, Kate could not shake the feeling that someone was following her. She had learned to trust those feelings during the war. They had kept her alive when fighting aliens who could predict human tactics. Now, those same instincts were telling her that coming home had not ended her war. It had just changed the enemy. Kate parked outside her apartment and sat in the car. For a moment, the street was quiet, but she felt eyes watching from the shadows. Tomorrow, she would call Marcus Webb. Tomorrow, she would start looking for answers. Tonight, she would remember what it felt like to be a soldier again. Kate met Marcus Webb at a small coffee shop downtown. He looked exactly like his photo, tired but determined. His notebook was already full of writing when she sat down across from him. Lisa told me about your story, Marcus said without wasting time. Battle of Proxima Station. You commanded the Defiant against 12 Cathara dreadnoughts. That's right. Official records say Admiral Coleman's fleet won that battle. Kate stirred her coffee. Coleman arrived 3 hours after I disabled the enemy ships. His fleet just cleaned up the pieces. Marcus made notes while she talked. Tell me exactly what happened. Kate described the battle step by step. How the Cathara had surrounded the 2 colony worlds. How her damaged ship and 3 small escorts were the only defense. How she used the gas giant to hide her approach and hit the enemy from impossible angles. You destroyed 12 dreadnoughts with 4 small ships, Marcus said. I didn't destroy them. I disabled their weapons and engines, made them sitting targets for when Coleman showed up. But you saved 2 million people. Yes, Marcus showed her a file full of papers. I've been collecting stories like yours for 6 months. Look at this. He spread out documents across the table. Photos of soldiers Kate didn't recognize. Battle reports with heavy black marks covering important details. News articles that mentioned victories, but never named the people who won them. Captain Ryan Torres, Marcus said, pointing to a photo, held the colony on New Boston against 10,000 Cathara ground troops. Had only 40 Marines with him. The battle lasted 3 days. Kate studied the photo. Ryan looked young, maybe 25. His eyes had the same tired look she saw in her own mirror. Where is he now? Works security at a shopping mall in Detroit. Makes minimum wage. When I interviewed him, he said people crossed the street to avoid talking to him. Marcus showed her another file. Commander Amy Foster, brilliant engineer. She figured out how to modify our weapons to punch through Cathara shields. Her innovation won the entire war. I never heard of her. Nobody has. She teaches basic engineering at a community college in Ohio. Her students don't know she saved humanity. Kate felt cold despite the warm coffee shop. This can't be a coincidence. It's not, Marcus said. I found 47 cases so far. All heroes from the war. All forgotten. All living quiet lives where nobody pays attention to them. He pulled out a map covered in red pins. They're scattered across the country. Different cities, different jobs. But they all have one thing in common. What? They all tried to access their military records after coming home. And they all got blocked by the same department. Marcus pointed to a government building on his laptop screen. Office of Strategic Information. Never heard of it? Neither had I officially. It doesn't exist. Kate leaned forward. What do they do? That's what I've been trying to find out. But every time I get close to answers, something stops me. Marcus showed her photos of his apartment. The furniture was overturned. Papers were scattered everywhere. His computer was missing. This happened 2 weeks ago, he said. Right after I requested information about the Battle of Proxima Station. Kate felt the same chill she had experienced during the war when Cathara scouts were nearby. Someone doesn't want this story told. Exactly. But I'm not giving up. Are you willing to help? Kate thought about her empty apartment and meaningless days. About the party where people looked through her like she was made of glass. About the medal on her dresser that nobody cared about. What do you need me to do? Marcus smiled for the first time since they met. I need you to contact your old crew. See if they're having similar problems. Kate pulled out her phone and found the contact list from her time on the Defiant. She hadn't talked to any of them since coming home. She called Lieutenant Jake Miller first. He had been her weapons officer during the battle. Kate, Jake sounded. Surprised. I didn't think you'd call. How are you doing, Jake? There was a long pause. Honestly, not great. I'm working at a car repair shop. Nobody wants to hire a former weapons officer. Do you remember the Battle of Proxima Station? Another pause, longer this time. Kate, that's classified. I can't talk about it. Since when? We never signed any. Special agreements. I got a visit from some government people last month. They said discussing our service could hurt national security. Kate felt her heart racing. What people? Office of Strategic Information. They had all the right papers. Said our battle records were being reclassified. After Jake hung up, Kate tried calling her engineer, Lieutenant Carol Price. The phone rang, but nobody answered. She tried the communications officer, Sergeant Bill Watson. His number was disconnected. This is bad, Kate told Marcus. It gets worse, he said. I tried to interview some of the other heroes on my list. Half of them won't talk to me. The other half act like they can't remember what they did during the war. Kate stared at the files. Spread across the table. 47 heroes, all forgotten. All living invisible lives. There's something else, Marcus said quietly. Something strange that I noticed in all my interviews. What? Every single person I talked to mentioned feeling. Invisible. Not just ignored, but actually invisible. Like people couldn't see them even when they were standing right there. Kate remembered the party at Danny's house. How conversations died when she approached. How people looked past her, even when she was talking. "I've felt that too," she admitted. Marcus nodded. "I think that's the key to understanding what's happening. But I need more information." He pulled out a business card with just a phone number on it. "I have one contact left. Someone who might know what the Office of Strategic Information really does." "Who?" "A former intelligence officer named Dr. Helen Cross. She worked on classified projects during the war, but she's scared. Won't meet in public." Kate took the card. "Where does she want to meet?" "There's an old warehouse district on the east side of town." "She said to come alone?" "That sounds like a trap." "Maybe, but she's our only lead." Kate looked around the coffee shop. Other customers sat at nearby tables, but none of them glanced in her direction. Even the waitress seemed to forget she was there. "I'll go," she said, "but I want backup." "I'll be watching from outside," Marcus promised. That night, Kate drove to the warehouse district. The area was mostly empty, with old buildings and broken streetlights. She found the address Dr. Cross had given them. The warehouse door was unlocked. Kate pushed it open and stepped inside. The space was huge and dark, filled with shadows and echoes. "Dr. Cross?" She called Dot. A figure emerged from behind a stack of crates. An older woman with gray hair and nervous eyes. "Lieutenant Commander Morrison?" the woman asked. "That's right." Dr. Cross looked around carefully before speaking. "What I'm about to tell you could get us both killed. The Office of Strategic Information isn't just hiding your achievements. They're hiding what you really are." "I don't understand." Dr. Cross pulled out a small device that looked like a medical scanner. "Hold still," she said, pointing it at Kate. The device beeped and flashed red lights. Dr. Cross stared at the readings with wide eyes. "Oh my God," she whispered. "You don't know, do you?" "Know what?" "You're not just a war hero, Kate. You're something else entirely. Something they created during the war. Something they're trying very hard to keep secret." Before Kate could ask what she meant, the warehouse lights suddenly blazed on. Armed soldiers in black uniforms surrounded them. "Dr. Cross, step away from the subject," called a voice from the shadows. A woman in a military uniform walked forward. Her insignia showed. The rank of colonel. "Lieutenant Commander Morrison," the colonel said. "You're coming with us." The soldiers put Kate in handcuffs and loaded her into a black van. Dr. Cross sat beside her, looking scared but not surprised. The colonel sat across from them, watching Kate with curious eyes. "Where are you taking us?" Kate asked. "Somewhere safe," the colonel replied. "My name is Helen Price. I run a special research program." The van drove for 2 hours through empty highways. Kate tried to remember the route, but the windows were tinted too dark to see landmarks. Finally, they stopped at what looked like a normal office building. But when they went inside, Kate saw this was no ordinary place. Armed guards stood at every door. Metal detectors and scanners checked everyone who entered. The elevator went down instead of up, deep underground. "Welcome to Project Looking Glass," Colonel Price said as the elevator descended. They walked through long hallways lined with laboratories. Scientists in white coats worked at computers and strange machines. Through glass windows, Kate saw rooms full of equipment she didn't recognize. "What is this place?" Kate asked. "The answer to your questions," Colonel Price said. "Dr. Cross, thank you for bringing her in as requested." Kate stared at Dr. Cross. "You set me up." "I'm sorry, Kate, but you need to know the truth. And this is the only way they would let me tell you." Colonel Price led them to a conference room with a large screen on the wall. She pressed a button, and the screen lit up with charts and graphs. "Lieutenant Commander Morrison, do you remember your first battle against the Kithara?" Colonel Price asked. "Of course. The attack on the supply depot near Alpha Centauri." "Do you remember how you knew where the enemy ships would attack from?" Kate thought back to that day. She had ordered her ship to defend the wrong side of the depot, but at the last moment, something told her to move. The enemy had attacked exactly where her instincts said they would. "Lucky guess," Kate said. "No," Colonel Price said. "Look at this." The screen showed video from Kate's battle. Her ship moved and turned in patterns that seemed impossible. She avoided enemy fire by seconds, as if she knew where the shots would go before they were fired. "You made 17 course corrections in this battle," Colonel Price said. "Every single one saved your ship from direct hits. The probability of that happening by chance is less than 1 in a billion." Kate watched herself command the battle on screen. She remembered feeling like time slowed down during the fight, like she could see every enemy move before it happened. "What are you saying?" Dr. Cross leaned forward. "Kate, during the war, we discovered something about human brains under extreme stress. When combined with exposure to Kithara technology, certain people developed abilities." "What kind of abilities?" Colonel Price changed the screen to show brain scans. Precognition, the ability to see future events. Probability manipulation, the power to make unlikely things happen. Reality adjustment at the quantum level. Kate stared at the scans. "That's impossible." "Is it?" Colonel Price asked. "Think about the Battle of Proxima Station. You commanded 4 small ships against 12 dreadnoughts. Explain how you won." Kate tried to remember the battle clearly. She had used the gas giant's gravity to swing around the enemy fleet, but now that she thought about it, the math didn't work. Her ship should have been crushed by the gravitational forces. "I used physics," she said weakly. "You bent physics," Dr. Cross said. "You subconsciously altered reality to make your plan work. The gravitational fields shifted exactly when you needed them to. Enemy weapons malfunctioned at precisely the right moments." The screen showed more battle footage. Kate watched her impossible victory again. This time she noticed details she had missed before. Enemy shots that should have hit her ships curved away at the last second. Explosions that should have destroyed her escorts somehow left them intact. "This happened to all of you," Colonel Price said. "Every enhanced soldier. Ryan Torres didn't hold off 10,000 enemies with 40 Marines. He made their weapons jam and their communications fail. Amy Foster didn't just figure out SHIELD technology. She convinced the universe that our weapons should penetrate their defenses." Kate felt dizzy. "Enhanced soldiers?" "Project Looking Glass began early in the war," Colonel Price explained. "We discovered that exposure to Kithara technology changed human brain chemistry. In rare individuals, this created psychic abilities. We identified these people and put them in situations where their powers would grow stronger. You experimented on us. We saved humanity," Colonel Price said firmly. "Without enhanced soldiers, we would have lost the war. The Kithara had superior technology and numbers. Only human beings with reality-altering abilities could defeat them." Dr. Cross showed Kate another chart. "But there was a side effect we didn't expect. As your abilities grew stronger, you began to exist partially outside normal space-time. Other people found it harder to see you, remember you, or believe in your achievements." "The invisibility," Kate whispered. "Exactly. You're becoming unstuck from normal reality. If we don't treat it, you'll fade away completely. Other people won't be able to perceive you at all." Kate thought about the party at Danny's house. How people looked through her. How conversations died when she joined them. How even the waitress at the coffee shop seemed to forget she existed What kind of treatment? Colonel Price pulled out a small device that looked like a hearing aid. Neural dampeners. They suppress your abilities and keep you anchored in normal reality. All enhanced veterans receive them. What if I don't want treatment? Then you'll disappear, Dr. Cross said sadly. We've already lost 3 enhanced soldiers that way. They refused the dampeners and faded from existence. Their families don't. Remember them. Official records show they never existed. Kate felt scared for the first time since the war ended. But with the dampeners, I'll be normal again? You'll be visible, Colonel Price said. But you'll have to live a quiet life. No publicity, no recognition for your service. The world isn't ready to know about enhanced humans. So I stay invisible, just in a different way. It's for the good of society, Colonel Price said. Imagine what would happen if people knew some humans had godlike powers. There would be panic, persecution, demands for enhancement procedures. The world would tear itself apart. Kate looked around the conference room. Through the glass walls, she could see other enhanced veterans walking through the facility. They wore the neural dampeners and moved like normal people, but their eyes held the same emptiness she felt inside. What about Marcus Webb? Kate asked. The journalist investigating our stories. Colonel Price frowned. Mr. Webb will be offered a job with our information management department. His research skills are quite impressive. And if he refuses, then he'll have an accident. Nothing fatal, just enough to make him forget his investigation. Kate felt anger building in her chest. These people had used her during the war, then erased her achievements afterward. Now they wanted to drug her into being a normal person for the rest of her life. I want to see the other enhanced veterans, Kate said. That's not possible. Then I refuse the treatment. Colonel Price sighed. Kate, be reasonable. You can't survive without the dampeners. Watch me. Kate closed her eyes and concentrated. During the war, she had learned to trust her instincts completely. Now she reached for that same feeling, that sense of knowing what would happen next. The room suddenly felt different. The air shimmered around her. Colonel Price and Dr. Cross were talking, but Kate couldn't hear their words clearly anymore. She was starting to fade, but for the first time since coming home from war, Kate Morrison felt truly powerful again. She opened her eyes and smiled at Colonel Price. I choose to be invisible on my own terms, she said. Then she walked through the wall and disappeared. Kate walked through the underground facility like a ghost. Guards looked right through her. Scientists worked at their desks without noticing her pass by. She had become completely invisible, but this time it felt like freedom instead of loneliness. She found the enhanced veterans in a special wing of the building. 47 people sat in comfortable chairs, wearing neural dampeners and staring at television screens. They looked peaceful but empty, like parts of their souls had been cut away. Kate recognized Ryan Torres from Marcus's files. The Marine, who had held off 10,000 enemies, now watched cartoons with dead eyes. Amy Foster, the brilliant engineer, played simple card games with the focus of a child. This is what they want for me, Kate whispered. She walked deeper into the facility and found Colonel Price's office. The colonel was on the phone, talking about Kate's escape. No, we can't use force, Colonel Price said. Enhanced individuals become more powerful when threatened. We need to convince her to come back voluntarily. Kate listened as the colonel planned to use her friends against her. They would arrest Marcus and Lisa. They would threaten her brother, Danny. They would make her choose between her freedom and the safety of people she cared about. Kate felt anger burning in her chest. These people had stolen her war, stolen her achievements, and now they wanted to steal her mind. But she was not the same person who had felt invisible at Danny's party. She was Lieutenant Commander Kate Morrison, the hero of Proxima Station, and she was going to fight back. Kate left the facility and drove to the coffee shop where she had met Marcus. He was sitting at the same table, typing on his laptop. She became visible just long enough to tap him on the shoulder. "Kate!" Marcus jumped up. "Where have you been?" "I've been looking for you for hours." "We need to gather the others," Kate said. "All the enhanced veterans who aren't in that facility." "What others?" "Colonel Price said they lost 3 enhanced soldiers who refused treatment." "I don't think they're lost. I think they're hiding." Kate closed her eyes and reached out with her abilities. She could sense other people like her, scattered across the country. Minds that existed partially outside normal reality. People who had learned to live in the spaces between worlds. "I can find them," she said. Over the next week, Kate tracked down the missing enhanced veterans. She found Captain Sam Turner living in the mountains of Colorado, completely invisible to normal people, but still protecting hikers from dangerous animals. Lieutenant Beth Kelly worked as an unseen guardian in a rough neighborhood in Chicago, stopping crimes before they happened. The third missing veteran was Commander Jack Stone, who had learned to exist in multiple realities at once. He could be in 10 different places simultaneously, always watching for threats to humanity. "We've been waiting for someone like you," Jack told Kate when she found him. "Someone willing to stand up to them." Kate brought the 3 veterans back to meet Marcus and Lisa. They made an unusual team: a journalist, a doctor, and 4 people who could bend reality with their thoughts. "We need to expose the truth," Kate said. "But not just to newspapers or government committees. We need to show the whole world what we can do." "That's dangerous," Sam warned. "People will be scared of us." "People are already scared," Kate replied. "They're scared of war, scared of aliens, scared of being helpless. We can show them that humanity is stronger than they think." Kate's plan was simple but bold. Each enhanced veteran would use their abilities publicly, in ways that could not be hidden or explained away. They would force the world to see them by doing things that normal humans could not ignore. Sam Turner prevented an avalanche in Colorado by redirecting it with his mind, saving a ski resort full of people. The event was caught on dozens of cameras and broadcast live on television. Beth Kelly stopped a terrorist attack in Chicago by predicting exactly where the bomber would strike and evacuating the building minutes before the explosion. Security cameras showed her moving impossibly fast, faster than human reflexes allowed. Jack Stone appeared simultaneously at disasters around the world, rescuing people from earthquakes, fires, and floods. News reporters couldn't explain how. The same man was in 5 different countries at the same time. For her demonstration, Kate chose something that would touch every person on Earth. A massive asteroid was approaching the planet, one that space agencies said would pass safely by. But Kate could see the future, and she knew the calculations were wrong. She flew to the International Space Station in a ship that shouldn't have been able to make the journey so quickly. Astronauts watched in amazement as she exited the ship. Without a spacesuit, standing in open space as if it were solid ground. Kate reached out with her mind and touched the asteroid. She didn't push it away with force. Instead, she convinced reality that the massive rock had always been on a different path. The universe adjusted itself to match her will. The asteroid changed course so dramatically that every telescope on Earth could see it happen. Scientists scrambled to explain the impossible physics, while news channels showed the same footage over and over. Within hours, the enhanced veterans were the most famous people on the planet. But Kate wasn't finished. She appeared at the United Nations building in New York, walking through security systems that couldn't detect her until she chose to be seen. She materialized in the middle of the General Assembly while it was in session. "My name is Lieutenant Commander Kate Morrison," she said to the stunned representatives. "I served humanity in the war against the Cathara Empire. I saved 2 million lives at the Battle of Proxima Station. The assembly hall was completely silent. Kate stood in the center of the room, visible to everyone, her voice carrying to every corner without amplification. For months I felt invisible, because my government wanted me to be invisible. They experimented on me and others during the war, giving us abilities that helped win the conflict. Then they tried to hide us because they were afraid of what we had become. Kate gestured, and images appeared in the air around her. Footage from the war, showing enhanced veterans performing impossible feats. Battle reports that had been classified. Files from Project Looking Glass. We are not weapons to be locked away, Kate continued. We are human beings who gained the power to protect our species. We choose to use that power to help, not to rule. She looked directly at the cameras recording the session, speaking to the billions of people watching around the world. Humanity faced extinction and found a way to evolve. We became something more than we were, but we stayed human in our hearts. We asked not for worship or fear, but for recognition and the chance to serve. Kate's image began to fade as she prepared to become invisible again. We will always be here, watching over you. When disasters strike, when evil threatens, when hope seems lost, remember that some humans gained the power of gods, but chose to remain heroes. She disappeared from the assembly hall, but her words echoed around the world in the weeks that followed. Everything changed. Colonel Price's program was shut down. The neural dampeners were removed from the enhanced veterans in the facility. Marcus wrote a book about the true heroes of the war that became a worldwide bestseller. Kate established the Enhanced Veterans Integration Program, an organization that helped people with abilities find their place in the new world. She worked openly now, no longer invisible, but not entirely normal either. Sometimes she would fade from view when the weight of fame became too much. But she always came back, because she had learned the most important lesson of all. True heroes are not invisible because they hide from the world. They are invisible because they put the world's needs before their own. And when humanity needed to see its heroes, Kate Morrison made sure they could be seen. She stood at the window of her new office, watching people walk safely through the streets below. They couldn't see her watching, but they didn't need to. They just needed to know that someone was. Kate Morrison had come back from war feeling invisible. Now she protected a world that would never be invisible to her.